And good evening to you here at WMRS Sunny 1077. It is time for our second week of candidate interviews. And here with the studio with me this evening now, I guess I should say, I have Bill Brooks running for White County Sheriff. Hi, Bill.
How are you, Brandi?
I'm doing really good. Okay, let's kick this off. Just tell us about yourself.
Well, my name is Bill Brooks. I'm from the Wolcott area. I attended Wolcott School. In fact, I was the last class to graduate Wolcott before it became Tri-County. I'm still involved with the family farms there at Wolcott. So married to Terry Brooks, and we have 5 children. And grateful that they was all able to get further their education after high school and succeeded with that. And have one still in the service, in the reserves, Air Force Reserves. So.
Okay. Tell us about your law enforcement experience and your experience and your qualifications to be sheriff.
Well, I started with the Indiana State Police in 1979, so almost 35 years before I retired. During that, I filled many roles, from security of presidential security to governor's security. I was on the ERT team, or most people know as the SWAT team, drug interdiction team. I've been a field training officer for the last 9 years of my career.
Yeah, we were just talking about you doing the Mitch Daniels security when he came in here to talk.
I brought Mitch into it. Yes, I did, and showed him around Monticello a little bit.
Yeah, we were just chatting about that. So yes. That was a really neat experience, I'm sure.
Yes.
All right, sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead on with your experience in law enforcement.
It's been very fulfilling. There's so many shoes I can't remember all the roles we played, but it was a career that you dreamed about having, and I was able to accomplish it.
Well, what do you think are the most significant law enforcement issues that are facing White County over the next term?
Right now, we're facing an opioid problem. 2 years ago or 3 years ago, it was meth. So you're going to have to adapt. The twist this particular time is because of the prescription angle to the opioid, where obviously cocaine, marijuana, that's not prescription. So this is a new twist that you have to combat, and we'll be ready. We'll be ready for it. We have the officers. We have the people that they want to do it. They're good at it, and we're going to release them to do it. We're going to attack it pretty strong.
That's right. Okay, where do you think the funds from the sheriff's department would be best spent?
Right now, the sheriff's department is pretty well equipped. The only issue I see that could be coming up is they have a report system that's getting pretty old, and today's technology, if you don't keep up with it, but it's not a major issue, but it's going to have to be watched. The other thing is, for me, will be training. Keep training with the other officers, even the other departments. To me, it's all one color, and I want to get together and train with using the instructors we have. But then sometimes you have to call them out. So training. My whole career was that. We trained constantly, and it was important.
Well, you just touched on the opioid problem and the meth problem. It's a nationwide issue. How do you think White County can combat that? How can the sheriff's department address that issue? It's
a hard drug to combat because usually it's bought and used, so it's hard to catch them with it. To me, you have to have the community involvement. So that's a big goal of mine, to have the officers back in touch. The community is your biggest asset. It doesn't matter what program you're doing. You have to have the community. They know what's happening. They know what's happening next door, and then we're going to attack it at street level. We've had good interdiction officers. A couple of them have left, so I want to work on retaining and keep them here. They're doing the same job in another county. Mm-hmm. I want them here. Mm-hmm. So we're going to attack it back at street level, and we've already been contacted by task force members in case we need to move up to the next level. So it's going to come out all right.
Okay. Describe some of the methods that you'll use to communicate with the public. Like the sheriff, when we have a road closing or an accident, he'll text me and say, hey, can you put this on the radio? So what are some of the ways that you're going to communicate with the public and open that up?
Well, with the the Facebook, the websites, will always be maintained. We've got officers there in White County that's good at that, a lot better than I am. So I will empower them to keep up with that. Also, what I've seen in other counties, I hope that we can have either a weekly or every other week with the radio stations or
Well, that's
communicating
a good answer.
with
See, you're making my mom really happy right now.
We got to keep her happy. But with the radio stations, because we want the transparency, we want we want to hear them, be able them to call in and tell us of a problem. But we want to tell them what we're doing. We want to keep them informed and up to date that we are out there.
Right. All right. This is outside of law enforcement. What are some of the other ways you've contributed to the community outside of law enforcement?
Well,
I know that's like your whole career, right? But I've asked everybody this one.
I have to go back quite a ways, but when you're married, you have children, and then you're involved in coaching. So I've been involved with basketball, baseball, and I even coached soccer. And I got to tell you, there was no soccer when I went to school, so they taught me. The kids taught me. But also, the one thing I was proud of is I was a Shriner, involved with the Shriners with the crippled children and the burn center. So mostly my role was transport. We'd transport them up to the hospitals back and forth because it's totally free, and that's rewarding.
Right.
And the third thing that I did more local was with the Indian Trails, the Delphi Criminal Justice Program. And one of the things we did there was we set up mock interviews because it doesn't matter where you go. Yes, we was doing that interview for an officer's position, but we was contacted later when they actually had to go through an interview for other jobs outside law enforcement. They said it was cake after doing ours. So
right.
that was rewarding.
So how is the campaign itself going for you?
Busy. Busy. As all candidates know, I wish we didn't have to do the signs. I don't like the sign wars and the frustrations. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of money. The door to door. But we've had town halls, 10. We've had 9 so far. We're going to have our last one in Idaville, so we will have hit every community, and that's been great, talking to people face to face, hearing their concerns, and sharing our vision with them. So it's actually been fun. When my wife first suggested it, I didn't know, but now we look forward to it. So,
which is good.
Yes.
So what else do you want to add about your run for sheriff?
I think when it comes down to it, Brandi, it's about vision. That's what the voters are going to be voting for. It's one of my candidates had said his was to continue, so that's his vision. And mine is I see possibilities to change the way things are done. I'd like to see a lot more involvement, community involvement. I want to. One goal I had was to get the reserves. They're down to 1 now, and it was at 15 at one time. So my goal was to have 10. Well, I didn't set my goal high enough. We already have 10 people wanting to come back or join. So we're going to be able to get that going right out of the gate with the instructors also that said they'll have them ready to go January the 1st. Once we win November, we're going to start training them, and they'll be ready to go. So that's a successful program I'm looking forward to, and that's a big asset to the community. The officers' involvements, I want them back into the communities. As I said earlier, that's your biggest asset. So I want them in the neighborhood watches. I want them in the town halls. I want them to know where the assets are, kind of adopt their own area. And I want the reserves also to do that. They're going to be an integral part. And the third thing is a career path for not only the deputies, but the correctional officers. I want to retain more. I want them to want to be here. I want to empower them. And what you're doing is the future of White County.
Mm-hmm. So
you're building leaders for the next election. You're building leaders for the community. I want them to know the officers one-on-one. I'll pay them to go to the coffee shop. I want them to sit down with the people and interact with them and know their area, know their resources, know their problems, so we can go to that and attack that problem there. I want them to know we're there for them.
Right. Here's a question I've asked everybody. Why do you want to be the next sheriff?
35 years, you don't get it out of your system. That's a given. But also, I'm still concerned about White County. Most of my family's in White County. So I have the qualifications for it. I've got the experience for it. I have a direction, a vision for it. And I want to implement that. And if blessed with the vote, If I win the election, they'll see just how determined I am to accomplish all these programs. And we've been blessed with the majority of the officers' support. And when you have that, programs come easy, because you already got the enthusiasm from the officers. They're well trained. They're good officers. They're young officers. And again, it isn't the color of the uniform. These guys all know each other. They work together. And bringing in the reserves, you're going to see White County officers present, believe me. So that's what we want to accomplish. And I think we can do it with that support.
That's right. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add for us? I know you flew through my questions.
I've done a couple of these in 35 years. I just want our vision to get across and to get out to it. I think it's a positive vision. I think it's a positive plan. The goals are accomplishable. We're not talking about a lot of money here. There's very little money on what I'm talking about needs to be spent. It's just going out in the community and doing it. I'm concerned, as I said at the beginning, about the drug program for this. The 9 years I was here, we had one drug raid early when I came back to White County. We haven't had any. I don't know of a drug program at the present time in the last 7.5 years, the time I was here. So we want to go back and attack this. We're going to have our own plan. I want to work with every department. I want to get White County's Sheriff's Department's ID back. I want them to be distinct. We're going to work with every department, but we will be separate. We will be our own department, and I think we can do it. I think we can work within any department. We have good rapport with the other leaders, so I think it can be done.
Okay, well, thank you, Bill, for taking the time to come in here and talk with us today. Remember the day to vote. It is May the 8th. We're almost 2 weeks away from that. Just a hair. So get on out there and vote on May 8th.
Yes, please. We appreciate your vote. Thank you, Brandi.
Thank you, Bill. And we're going to take a quick break, and I will be back with Kevin Anderson right after this.